believe it or not, you have options when it comes to credit cards as well. So let's talk about the various types of credit card. First off, you have your standard credit card. This is your typical credit card that offers your basic line of credit. I mean, it can be offered to anyone 18 or older as long as they meet the necessary requirements, whatever they may be. And these are relatively straightforward. If they credit you a certain amount of money, right, this is your credit limit, and you're allowed to spend it as you wish on whatever you want, but the expectation is that you pay it back in monthly installments with the additional sum tacked on for the interest. That's your APR. So the biggest difference that you'll find amongst your standard credit cards is typically just the credit limit that's allowed. Some people will be allowed $5,000, some $500. That depends on their credit score. And also the interest rate will vary as well. But beyond that, your standard credit card is your standard credit card. Another difference in the standard credit card you'll see is the interest rate. Now it's very important to be aware that even a small difference in APR, or your interest rate, can result in thousands of dollars depending on how much debt you take on. So it's always advisable to get as low an APR as possible, even if the credit line is lower. I mean, unless it's absolutely necessary. Credit card with a $1,000 limit and 10% APR is much better than a credit card with a $2,000 limit but a 30% APR. Now, beyond your standard credit card, you have something called rewards cards. Now, these are the types of credit cards that offer rewards or perks to customers based upon how much money they spend by using their card. Credit card companies offer these rewards for two primary reasons. First, it's a way to compete with other credit card companies. Credit card companies want your business, so in order to lure you away from their competitors, they will try to offer incentives to become their customers. Second, it encourages people to use their credit cards to pay for purchases even if they can pay it off with cash. Because rewards cards tend to offer points based upon every dollar spent using the card, it makes using the card for all purchases more appealing. Now, this has helped change the way people use credit cards over the years. Credit cards were traditionally only used for major purchases, but today they're used the same way cash is, even for very minor purchases. You may see someone at the supermarket use a credit card to buy a tomato for 25 cents. Ridiculous? Yes. Does it happen? You know it does. Now, this benefits credit card companies because anytime someone fails to pay off these bills by the end of the month, they're going to owe the credit card companies some extra money based upon the APR. So it's definitely a way to increase people's debt, but still, rewards cards have become incredibly popular, and what they offer can vary drastically. So with rewards cards, the card holder will usually rack up points for whatever money they spend using the cards, and when they accumulate enough of these points, they can usually cash them in for whatever rewards the credit card is offering. Sometimes these points are even doubled for certain purchases. This helps influence what the holder buys. So let's look at some of the most popular reward programs today. First, you have your airline miles. Cards that offer airline miles, or otherwise known as frequent flyer miles, will offer their customers points for making flight purchases. These cards traditionally offered points based upon the amount of miles flown. So for example, if the customer purchased a flight from New York to Miami, that covers about 1,090 miles, then they might be given a point for every 10 miles flown. So that would result in about 109 points. However, because of how popular budget traveling is nowadays and everybody's trying to find deals for their vacations, many cards simply offer points on the total amount of money you've spent, regardless of the miles. So for example, if the flight from New York to Miami is $379, then maybe you'll get 379 points. Then you have cash back cards. As the title suggests, these rewards actually give the customer some of their money back. Now, some cards may offer this in the form of store credit. In this case, the credit card company usually has certain stores that it partners with, and it'll give you a certain amount of credit to be spent at any of these partner stores. Now, this benefits the stores because it gives them new customers who will potentially spend more than the store credit they've been given. However, many credit card companies will simply write the customer a check or put actual cash into their account.
Give me the money!
In these cases, the amount of money a customer gets back varies depending on the credit card. I mean, it's common for many companies to offer roughly a 1% return, which is essentially $1 back for every 100 that you spend. And cards often tend to put a limit on how much the customer can actually get back. Then you have points cards. Now, these credit cards offer perks or points based upon how much is spent, just like any other card. However, these cards usually have a wide variety of purchases that a customer can use their rewards for. Some of these options may include a complimentary hotel room, rental cars, entertainment options like maybe tickets to the amusement park or tickets to the movies. I mean, sometimes points cards will have an entire catalog of merchandise that people can buy from. These can have anything from notebooks to backpacks to clothing to pool tables. In these instances, customers will get, let's say, 1 point for every dollar they spend, and they can look in the catalog and they'll see, oh, a pool table is 80,000 points. So the catalogs don't list their merchandise with actual price costs, they list them with point costs. This way the customer knows how many points they have to rack up in order to make this purchase. And it should be noted that usually the things in the catalog can be pretty expensive, all things considered. For example, you may see a sweatshirt for 1,000 points. Well, that's real cool. That means you will have had to spend $1,000 on your credit card in order to get this shirt, which is probably only worth 20 bucks. Right? But still, it's a nice perk, right? And then you have the premium credit cards. Premium cards are considered upscale and are typically reserved for those who have excellent credit and who can afford high credit limits. Typically, these cards are offered to those who have very large salaries and who have lots of money in their accounts and lots of money to spend. The interest on these cards tend to be very high, and they often have sign-up fees which can cost over $1,000. But the perks that they are offered also tend to be those with more expensive tastes. These can include access to exclusive airline lounges, right? You can have access to a 24-hour concierge service. You might have personal assistants or access to very exclusive experiences like tickets to the US Open or the Olympics or the Super Bowl, or maybe access to celebrity-filled fashion shows. Plus, many premium credit card customers are also given subscriptions to a magazine written exclusively for people who use that card. So only people who have this card get this magazine. It's just for them. Now, beyond the perks, these cards are also very popular as a status symbol. Because of their exclusivity, many customers enjoy the perception of having this high-end card. Oh, I'm going to use my gold card. Now, because of this, even luxury cards have several different levels. I mean, the gold card was once thought of as the premier credit card in the world, designated only for the elite. But nowadays, although the gold card is still a major step above the average credit card, it is no longer the most exclusive. The platinum card is usually a tier above the gold card, and black cards are typically the most elite cards offered, and they're offered only to a select few.